today to be with Dr. Gulris from India, an expert in geopolitics and politics. Welcome, Dr. Gulris.
Thank you. And good
It's been a
evening
while.
to your viewers.
Thank you. It's been a while since our last discussion. Dr. Gulris, I wanted to talk with you about the most hot topic at the moment. Trump is going to meet with Putin in Alaska. What do you think is at stake? What are you expecting from that meeting? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? What's going to happen? What's going to be discussed? And what's the situation? How Ukraine should look at the conversation between Trump and Putin without having a permission to participate in that meeting when the conversation is obviously going to be in regards to Ukraine?
See, James, in this whole conversation, or you can say in this whole movie, the one character which is missing is the character of Zelensky. So Ukraine is already out of picture, and whatever the decisions will be there will be by the two world powers. Now, let me, for sake of your viewers, what is a world power or what is a global power? Global power is that country which is having the might to influence uh, events in another part of the globe, and it does not bend towards the dictates of any other country. So in this regards, you can say there are just three global powers right now. Number one is still United States of America, number two is China, and number three is Russia. Or you can say number two Russia, number three China. But I think because of the economic might, China is much heftier compared to Russia. Plus, they are also having the military, the industrial complex. And at the end of the day, when there is a war-like situation or when there is a war, the chickens comes to roost, and those chickens are which comes to roost are the industrial manufacturing capacity of any country. So Ukraine is out of picture, so is the European Union and most of the NATO allies. So whatever the talks will be between Trump and Putin, and what they will talk. Basically, Donald Trump definitely want a Nobel Peace Prize for himself. He and he different countries and different characters are nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize. So the biggest jewel in the crown in his jewel can be, I think, the end of Ukraine war, Russia-Ukraine war. So he will try that the war comes to a ceasefire. But to come to a ceasefire, definitely he has to agree to the dictates of Vladimir Putin or whatever the Vladimir Putin wants. Now, what he wants, there are two regions. One is Luhansk and another is Donetsk, which Russia has actually by law made its own sovereign territory. So definitely, if there is a talk of ceasefire and agreed upon by both the powers, then Ukraine will have to move whatever the troops of Ukrainians are being left in these territories. And there are reports that United States will not accept that territory to be the sovereign territory of Russia, but they will say that for 99 years, next 99 years, Russia will have control on those territories. So 99 years is a lot of period, and the whole world map actually changes in 99 years. So practically, it will become Russian territory. Plus, United States will also ensure that Ukraine will never join NATO. So the eastward expansion of NATO will be paused right now, at least. So these will be the classic type of terms on which he has to agree. Plus, the sanctions of Russia has to be released. Then there will be a talk about that money, Russian money, which has been frozen by the Europeans. So all these things will come into discussion. And Trump has said that in first few minutes of the meeting, he will understand that whether there will be a deal or no deal. Let's see what happens, because Trump is a character about whom you cannot say what he's going to do. So things are still murky. Europeans will try their level best that there should be no deal, because without Americans, Europeans can't do anything in this war, and they will have to toe the line of Americans. And already we saw when it comes to economics, when it comes to tariff, they had to toe the line of Donald Trump. So when in geoeconomics they are towing the line, in geopolitics they will have to toe that line. So they will try their level best that somehow this talk should fail, even though it is not good even for their economies, but they will try their level best. Let's see what happens. But what will be on stake, if you ask me directly, it's the 400 years of Western hegemony which will be on stake, and many people are understanding that thing. Remember, before just months before the Ukraine war started, it was Macron who, in Élysée Palace, France, called his elites, the French elites, and he gave them a presentation. In that presentation, he put the topic and explained it well, that how the 400 years old hegemony of West is crumbling right now, and the hegemony of East or the South countries, you can say global South, is coming into picture, and France must adapt in that direction. So, and I was telling since the day one of this Ukraine war that post Ukraine war, the world will not be the world which we are seeing right now. It will be officially a multipolar world, and the US hegemony and the Western hegemony will start to come down.
Speaking of the Western hegemony that will start to coming down, before the announcement of the meeting between President Trump and President Putin, United States, President Trump gave an ultimatum to India in regards to purchasing energy resources from Russia. To my understanding, India have denied that ultimatum, and not too far after, they have invited President Putin to come with the visit to India. What is India trying to receive out of that visit? What is India trying to receive out of its relationship with Russia? And what are you expecting before, after, and during that meeting to happen? What agreements could be signed? What protocols can be proceeded? What can we expect from that meeting, and what India wants to receive out of that meeting and the relationship with Russia in general?
See, if you look at Indo-Russian relationship, since India got independence from Great Britain since 1947, it is a all-weather relationship with Russia. And Russia has always helped and supported India, let it be in wars, let it be when we were needing technology, let it be when we were needing machinery, or even in the UN in various topics. Russia never dished India and always supported India. Now, when Donald Trump is dictating India that you cannot buy Russian oil, that is something which India is not going to listen, because it is against the sovereign character of India, and India believes in freedom of foreign policy. Uh, I will say that in past 20-25 years, United States of America and India got closer, a lot closer than people thought. But this way, the arm twisting which is being done by Donald Trump, this is actually shattering the relationship, and also trust deficit has been caused. But tariff or no tariff, India is not going to toe that line and will maintain its foreign policy freedom and autonomy. And as far as Putin's coming to India is concerned, see, there is an agreement between both the countries that 1 year the head of government of India will go to Moscow, another year the head of government of Russia will come to India. And this was the
So
term.
is it just a coincidence that they have invited Putin right after the ultimatum, or that was just a power move, if we can say so?
Well, nothing is coincidence in geopolitics. If you want to understand geopolitics, join the dots and the whole picture will come into play. So definitely there is no coincidence. And another thing you should also watch, that Indian Foreign Minister as well as NSA, they both went to Moscow, and NSA was received by no less than President Vladimir Putin, who broke all the protocols and received Indian NSA. So there are definitely very strong signals to the US administration if they are getting that. And plus, by all these
what is sorry that I'm cutting you off. What is that message? What the US administration need to understand that the foreign minister of India is trying to deliver? What message they should hear?
I think they have got the message that India has other partners as well, apart from United States of America and West. And if push come to shove, we can take geopolitics to another level, and we have done it. India was on odds with China. But right now, if you look, both India as well as China are coming close. There was actually even direct flights from India to China and China to India were stopped. But today itself, those flights are also being started. And next month, if I'm not wrong, Prime Minister Modi is going to Beijing. So, RIC, Russia, India, China, they are coming close. And just try to understand and just work out in your own mind. If Russia, India, and China are sitting at one place, then it is the whole world actually. The balance of power goes anywhere when these three are sitting together: Russia, India, and China. Why? Because these are the countries which has actual commodity. What is actual commodity? Actual commodity is energy. Actual commodity is food grain. Actual commodity is manpower, human resource. India has got enormous human resource and talent. India has got agriculture, food stuff. Then comes China. China has got manufacturing capital. Go to Russia. Russia has got energy as well as food. So if you club these three countries and also mix or merge Iran there, because Iran is also coming close to these countries, then you also have a lot of things. You have minerals and you have oil and gas. So if these three, four countries come together, this is the world. This is the real world, and which is this is not dollar which is not being backed by anything. This is the economy which is being backed by energy, which is being backed by minerals, which is being backed by agriculture, and which is being backed by human resource.
Do you think that relationship between China and India that it's getting closer and warmer? Is it tactically because of the Western and the US pressure, or it has some strategic future goal that is uniting the nations? Because we both know that India and China had very intense relationship with even incidents on the border. What's uniting them now is the pressure from the West and the opportunity to build a stronger united bloc that will be able to slow down or to reduce Western homogeny, or there is something bigger than that?
James, India and China fought 1962 war. India and China had recent skirmishes, but even after that, India and China has lived together and close to each other for past 5,000 years. And that time there was no United States of America. That time there was no Western hegemony. So practically, the time has proved that both India and China can live together as neighbors. So things have happened in recent past, but things are happening in recent present as well.
I want to go back to sanctions and the ultimatum that Trump administration have announced and Trump himself have mentioned in public videos. How damaging those sanctions can be to India? What is India thinking in regards to sanctions from the United States and maybe West in general? How do they view those sanctions?
See, yeah, definitely, I won't say that these sanctions, if they continue, and if there is no breakthrough in the talks between India and United States, then it will definitely hurt India. But it's not the end of the world for India, because if you look at Indian exports to of total GDP, it is just 2% to United States of America. So India can survive, and don't forget when India went for nuclear tests, all kind of sanctions were put on India by United States of America, and India did survived. And at that time there was no BRICS. there was no rise of China and Russia. There was no rise of countries of global south, which today it is. So India can survive without West, and we have survived for time in memory. All historical records prove that India is the oldest civilization in the world.
But we're living today in a slightly different world when the world is so connected, so globalized, and the export and import between the countries is probably at high record peak in regards to like a long-term history. I'm saying that because not just India, but many other countries are coming now with their national ideas and are probably moving towards that isolation direction, if we can say so, and are happy to try their luck to survive without the partners and without the global trends that we had in the past or we still have. It's a slightly different world since like like 1,000 years ago when countries and continents were disconnected, so they were more self-sufficient. How much India puts effort into building that self-sufficiency, because I'm sure that India, just like any other country and nation, is deeply involved in that global world when everybody's exporting and importing to each other goods, people, energy, resources, technology, and so on and so forth.
Well, you are not wrong, but you are also not 100% right, because this is the Western picture which has been shown. If you look at historical records, there was something called a Silk Route, which was connecting India, Middle East, China, and Central Asia. And if even you look today at BRICS accounts for more than 60% of global population and 40% plus of global economy. So it is not the end of the world if West imposes sanctions on India, but I don't think that they can even put sanctions on India because there are two types of talks going on. On 15th of August, Putin is meeting with Trump. If there is a ceasefire vis-a-vis Ukraine war, then definitely the sanctions on Russian oil will have to be removed. So on that pretext, if President Trump has put sanctions on India, then those sanctions has to be removed.
Speaking of BRICS, what do you think is the future of BRICS? How strong and strategically connected the countries that are participating in that bloc? And is BRICS going to mainly serve the global South, or it's going to be a more global um, entity that will serve more countries and more worldwide questions and concerns that we have today?
The problem with BRICS is that politically most of the countries are very much divided, very much different. Like China is a communist party, India is a democracy. Then we have kingdoms there in BRICS like United Arab Emirates. Then we have military leadership like in case of Egypt. But one thing is
Yes.
there in the countries of global south. Or most of the countries of global south do not interfere in internal matters of each other. So this is something different from what the United States does. They try to interfere in other countries internal issues. So that is the power of BRICS. And one thing what I'm noting is constantly if you look at trade between each other between these countries is going into more and more into the local currencies. Like India is dealing with in rupee ruble trade with Russia. With UAE we are dealing in dirham rupee trade. So are other countries. So this is going to increase, and this is the biggest challenge to US hegemony of US dollar, because dollar is not backed by anything. It is not backed with gold or commodity. It is being backed by just one thing, that is the US military. And other countries are also becoming stronger by each passing day. So if your currency, that is US dollar, is just packed with the US military, they don't say it that it is packed with US military, but it is packed with US military, then other countries are also becoming stronger by each passing day.
You've mentioned something that I liked a lot at the beginning. If we go back to the beginning of the conversation, that India is respecting like a freedom of foreign policy. if Trump's and Putin's meeting is going to go well, and they will agree to whatever agreement they're going to come with, which most likely will be sweeping land, as they've mentioned, exchanging land. I think that's a disrespect towards a freedom of foreign policy of Ukraine, because that's their sovereign territory that is being swept, exchanged, or decided on what is going to be with that territory, basically without Ukraine's permission or without Ukraine's nation referendum. In what world do you think we will wake up if Ukraine's national border and national sovereign territory that is recognized internationally, we will wake up if that agreement will pass through? Because we know how that agreement can pass through. The U.S. will just stop supplying weapons and aid, and the West will stop supplying weapons and aid to Ukraine, and then they will have no choice. But it doesn't mean that it's respectful. No choice and respectful are going kind of like different directions, if that makes sense.
See, I'm very much sympathetic to Ukraine and Ukrainians, and this kind of swap of territory without the permission of the country is wrong, and it should have never happened, because if this happens, then what is the importance of UN Charter and all these things?
Yeah,
So,
what's the cost of international law?
but ultimately, who is responsible for that? We should also talk about all these things. It is Ukraine and not the Ukrainians, I'm saying. It is Ukraine and the governing elites of Ukraine. We saw that Orange Revolution, how an elected government was toppled by three-letter agency and MI6 and all those things. So when you start other people's interference in your domestic affairs and you start fighting as a proxy of others, when I just want to ask you, when there was an Istanbul dialogue for peace in the start of this war, that time there was some kind of agreement between Ukraine and Russia, which President Putin has shown to the African leaders that this was the document. Then Boris Johnson came from London, and he actually inflated that balloon, and he prompted Zelensky to fight, and that West will be backing him. And now they have left him and Ukraine nowhere. So when you start becoming proxy of any other country, this is the price you have to pay. And some days back, I was listening to a lawmaker of Ukraine, that lady lawmaker. She was saying that about 400,000 of Ukrainian military persons has abandoned the military. So in mid of a war, if 400,000 of your soldiers leave the military, you can understand what is the situation on the ground. And who is responsible? It is West, it is Zelensky and the Ukrainian elites. And who is paying? Poor Ukrainian people are paying. And I don't think, it's very unfortunate that I don't think that it will be a viable society for very long period, Ukraine, because many of the people who were the best of the brains, they have migrated from the country. Many hundreds of thousands of youth have been killed. So if this is the situation, it is not a viable society.
So what do you think is the solution?
The best solution would have been if President Zelensky would have not did constitutional amendment in which he said that it will be illegal for him to talk with Vladimir Putin. So I'm advocating since the beginning of this war that it should be Zelensky who should directly deal with Putin and come to some solution. And the easiest solution was, okay, we are going for a neutrality status. If they would have told this thing 3 years back, all these things would have not been there.
Dr. Gulriz, thank you so much for all your comments. It was a pleasure of mine to discuss all these important topics today. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again.
Bye-bye.